Okay, Oak Rovers, this is a video that's going to help you solve word problems using proportions. The proportion I'm going to read is number 4, or the problem I'm going to read is number 4. It says the ratio of orange juice to pineapple juice in tropical tree punch is 4 to 3. Bill has 64 ounces of orange juice. How much pineapple juice does he need? So the way I always solve this is I always read the first sentence until I can make my first ratio. When I write that first ratio, I like to label it so I know what each part of the ratio stands for. And then I make a proportion where I label the other side, the ratio on the other side of the proportion. Let me show you what I mean. The ratio of orange juice to pineapple juice in tropical tree punch is 4 to 3. So I'd stop right there. I know my proportion, or my ratio, is 4 to 3. Now, I've got to figure out what each of them means, or which each of the 4 and the 3 stand for. And the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to circle the word 2 in both instances. I circled the word 2 there. Now what comes before the word 2 is orange juice and 4. So my orange juice has to correspond with 4. And I'll put an OR down there for that, orange juice. After the word 2, I have pineapple juice and 3. So I'm going to put down pineapple juice on the bottom so it corresponds with 3. Now before I read the rest of the problem, I'm going to make my other side of my other ratio on the other side of the proportion, and I'm going to label orange juice on top and pineapple juice on the bottom. Now I'm going to read the rest of the problem and decide where that missing part is going to go. Bill has 64 ounces of orange juice. So the 64 ounces is of orange juice. So since it's the orange juice, it's got to go on the top of my proportion. So 64 has got to go there. And I need to find how much pineapple juice he has to mix with that to make this tropical treat punch. So now, after I set up my proportion, I look at the numbers. 4 over 3 is equal to 64 over x. Now it's a simple cross-multiplying problem, or else I can use cross products for cross-multiplying problem, or on this one I can go side by side, or use a scale factor to solve it. So when I'm doing this, let's use cross-multiplying. If I take one cross product is 4 and x, which is 4x, and my other cross product is 3 and 64, so 3 times 64 is going to be 192. Now remember that cross products of proportions must be equal. So I know that 4x must be equal to 192. To solve for this, I know 4x is equal to 192, so what I have to do to solve for this is divide both sides by 4. So I have to undo multiplying by 4. Well, 4 divided by 4 is just 1, so I'm left with x. And if I take 192 and I divide that by 4, I get 48. So the answer for this problem is 48 ounces of pineapple juice. Okay, let's try another one. Let's see here. We'll try number 8. That looks kind of fun. So number 8. So again, I just do the exact same thing. I read the problem out, and after I get my first ratio, I write it and label it down. Then I put an equal sign down, and I try and draw the proportions. So let's read this one. If there are 1,200 calories and 8 ounces of hot fudge, so my first ratio is 1,200, and that's going to be calories, in 8 ounces, so I'm going to put 8 ounces there of hot fudge. How many calories are in? So now I've written my ratio, and I've labeled it. So now on the other side of my proportion, for that ratio, I need to make sure I label that. So I'll label those, and now I'll read the rest of this. How many calories are in 3 ounces of hot fudge? So I'm trying to find out how many calories are, and I know I have 3 ounces. So I'm going to put 3 there and x calories. Okay? Now side by side is a little bit tricky for this one because it doesn't have 8 and 3 don't go into each other evenly. And 8 does go into 1,200, but that's kind of a lot to figure out. So I'm going to cross multiply this one again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 8 times x, which is just 8x, and 1,200 times 3, which is 3,000 600, I believe. 3,600. And then to solve, I know 8x or 8 x's are 3,800. I need to find out how much 1 is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1, so I'm just left with x. 3,600, and I divide that by 8, equals 450. So there's going to be 450 calories in 3 ounces of hot fudge. And that is how you solve proportions when I have word problems.